Welcome, everyone. We are here with Andy Schick.
Yeah.
Schick. I was like Chic? No, right.
Yeah. Close.
Schick.
Yeah. Schichter. Yeah.
Okay, Schichter.
Yeah.
And yeah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so for people that don't know, we were introduced virtually by the one and only Kara, Kara Bateman. She was here earlier past month. I think it was this past month. And she introduced us virtually, and we're very happy to have you here.
Yeah. Thanks. It was really nice for her to connect us. Because I've been watching the podcast a little bit, seen a bunch of like familiar faces and clients that I've worked with. So it was nice to finally come on.
Yeah, you have a very long list of clients, also a lot of whom I don't know yet. And it was like it's nice to know that we know like some of the same people. Yeah. So I would like to start off with a nice cheers.
Sure.
Have you ever had mezcal?
Maybe in a margarita. Do they make margaritas sometimes with mezcal?
Yeah, they do.
Tequila? Okay. I've probably
So
had that
the
then.
difference, so it's kind of like this. It's the same flavor, except this is smokier and it's a lot smoother.
Okay.
I love mezcal. I don't really like tequila.
Oh, okay.
So if you don't like tequila at all, you might still like mezcal.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
So cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that is good.
Right?
Yeah. Sweeter than tequila too.
Maybe this one.
Oh, yeah.
This is sweeter actually.
It's
I've never
nice.
had this one.
That's good.
This is the first time I've had this one.
Every show, do you try a different?
Oh,
like
I
mezcal?
wish.
Or is
No,
it?
there's not that much budget.
Oh, okay.
Yet.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
You got to get a sponsorship, but
Yeah, hopefully, if
Yeah.
anyone's listening.
but then you would just be limited to the one, I guess.
I mean, we can negotiate. But we go through like a bottle maybe. Well, it depends. Depends who's doing the interview, and it depends like I don't know. Sometimes like it goes like quicker.
Yeah, that's
Because
fair.
you're just like
Enjoying it.
Yeah. Or sometimes, or like during the summer, it's just a lot. It just goes down a lot quicker because it's like hot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, okay. So now you've officially, if you had or hadn't, you've officially had mezcal. And the way we do it is we do just like you did it.
Okay.
You have a sip and then a sip.
Okay.
So that's why we always do like a beer on the side.
Okay.
That's why we do it in Mexico.
I like it. I like chasing alcohol with alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Exactly. Especially because like this is like smoky, and then you just have like a nice refreshing.
Yeah.
Like
and,
after.
And like the Pacifico is like very nice summer beer too.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not like you're chasing it with like an IPA or something.
Exactly.
Kind of heavy.
Yeah. I mean, it's winter here, folks, but
Yeah.
it's always a good season for mezcal.
Yeah. So I'm going to do it in that order then.
Yeah. It is really nice.
Yeah.
And then you go like,
That's refreshing. Yeah, really good. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, how did you get into like producing music? Did you was it something that you knew early on when you were like young? Did you think like, I don't really like, I love doing music, but I really want to go into like the production side of it?
Yeah. I think I always knew, like even as a kid, that's something I wanted to do, but I didn't really know what the job entailed or what that would have looked like. But I do remember when I was a kid, so I grew up in Montreal, and then we moved to like Southern Ontario, Toronto area when I was 10. So this first couple of years we were like driving back and forth a lot and visiting family. And I just remember like sitting in the back of like my parents' van, just like with, my Discman, just listening to a bunch of records, but sometimes records from the same artist. And I was like interested in as to like why they sounded different. Like this one record sounded like it was recorded in like a big room. This record sounded like it was recorded like in an intimate space. This one has more instrumentation. So I was kind of, just interested in that. Just like, how differences, how do records sound different? But and then kind of just, started playing music, guitar and piano a little bit. But it wasn't until towards the end of high school that I was like, okay, I should look into pursuing this. So I went to Fanshawe College. They had a music industry arts program. And that was, it was like half audio engineering, music production, then half music business, and just fell in love with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And did you like, are you still playing guitar or?
A little bit, mostly bass these days, and keyboards.
Okay.
Those are kind of like two things that sometimes like records in the studio like need.
Okay.
So I don't play guitar as much anymore. It's been a few years, so my chops are like really not there. But I really love playing bass. That's definitely the instrument I fell into. Yeah, and
Okay.
I just feel comfortably behind it. So I end up playing a lot of bass on records. But then like
Oh, really? So also
yeah.
like you're the session musician for.
Yeah. Sometimes if it's instead of bringing someone else in, I'll like at least try it out, and then if it sucks, then I'll bring in someone else. Yeah. I did play bass a couple of times this summer though with Anna Katerina, who I know was on the show.
Oh yeah.
We did a show in Toronto and then another show here.
Oh, cool.
So that was fun. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Did you go visit family while you were there?
I did.
You
Used it as a work trip. I was like, yeah, I'll play the show, and then it's a work trip. Can write it off. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was fun. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry. Do you find that like when you're now that you're producing, do you still find you try to like adjust some of those differences that you found early on your some of the albums that you were listening to into the sound that you're trying to, recreate for other artists?
Yeah, definitely. Like I love using references, especially when you first start on a project with someone. Get to know what records they're like into, and then I can use some of my own influences, and especially when you're recording drums and stuff, which is typically one of the first things you record for a track. So that's where you can really kind of shape the space and the size of the song. Do we want it to be intimate? Do we want it to be big, like rock, punchy? Are we unsure? Should we leave ourselves some options?
Do you move like physical stuff in the studio to actually like make those adjustments?
Yeah, big baffles can really close off the room. Like the like Park Sound in my studio, the live room is very, very lively. It's tall ceilings. There's some stone walls, not like a ton of treatment there, so it's like great for like big rock sound. So you really have to like move stuff in to like make it more intimate, unless you put the drums in like a smaller booth or something.
Okay.
So yeah, there's always some of that, and then mic placement, kind of figuring out how to shape the sound that way, and the type of drums and like what you put in it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And how do you do you decide? Is it like part of what you adjudicate to yourself, to your own like position to decide like what kind of sound would be better for that artist, or is it something that you sort of like bounce like back and forth with the person that you're working with?
Back and forth for sure. Yeah, because you don't want to like trap yourself into a corner just even like afterwards where they're like, oh, I don't like how this sounds. This is not what I was going for. How do we make this bigger or smaller? Plus, it's the artist's vision. Like you go with what they ultimately like see for the song and how you can help get there. So yeah, we just chat about stuff in advance. What makes sense? What can we do in space? Are there like limitations? Do we have to enhance it other ways? And also like the players involved too. They really help shape the sound. Is the drummer like a hard hitter, or are they more of a jazz person? Same thing for like, electric guitar, which could be super wide ranging in terms of like versatility and styles. So there's always those conversations about like, how do we best suit the vision of the song.
What happens like do you have artists that have been like, I have no idea. Like this is a song, this is what I've thought about it. I want it to communicate this, but I have no idea like how. Like I don't know what type of guitar, like who I want it playing this part or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
that's fun. Yeah.
Like,
I do kind of like that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of nice when
it's a white canvas for you.
Exactly. Yeah. You just try kind of what you're hearing, and it might take a long time to get there, or it might come like supernaturally. And you're like, oh, that's where it was. And, the artist signs off on it and you're really feeling it. So That does happen. Every song's kind of different. Every artist is different. It sometimes depends, like if it's their first project or their second too. Because lots of musicians learn a lot from their first recording experience. So the second time they're in, they're like, I know what I did this first time. I don't want to do that, or I want to like enhance what I did. So this next time I'm in the studio, I'm a little bit more prepared, or have a little bit more insight on the process and how, music production can unfold.
There was I don't know if do you know Bonnie Northgraves?
No, I don't think so.
So she plays trumpet, piano, and she's a singer-songwriter.
Okay.
She plays like vintage jazz. She's great. She's amazing.
Nice.
And she mentioned like when she did her first album, she didn't really she wanted to recreate that 20s, 30s, 40s kind of like New Orleans sound to it. Having this music played in like halls, like how, like where it was intended to be played.
Yeah.
So she rented this like big hall and then she recorded her first album there. I think it was her first album.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh yeah, but like there's usually bodies dancing. And that kind of also influences in how the sound.
Yeah.
And she but that happened afterwards. So she was like, oh, maybe I should have thought about it. Like,
interesting.
Before I rented. And I was like, oh, that's true. Like,
yeah.
Because she was trying to recreate that sound, but she still, which it still sounds great.
Yeah.
But she was like, oh, I didn't really think about it the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like I was still missing those bodies where the sound could actually bounce off.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like more of a live show. I guess kind of record a live set maybe to get that.
Yeah, to get that
feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it still sounds great. She's amazing. You should definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you should connect.
I'll check her out.
She's really great.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I guess it does influence a lot. Like, like how sound like works whenever you're producing and trying to make that person sound the way they want to be heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's like, even singing, like they might be more comfortable holding a guitar while they sing, even though they're not playing the guitar. It's just that's how they're used to performing. And that makes them more comfortable. So, you always try to find things that make them comfortable. Because it doesn't matter how much time you spend fiddling around with a mic. If the performance isn't there, it doesn't matter.
Do you have like a default kind of like setting for whenever artists are like arrive like for the first time and you're like, I know like this this can make them, like most of artists, like feel comfortable once they're in studio?
Yeah, I mean it's rare for like me to not know the artist in advance. Even just they might come by the studio and have a meeting, or we meet at a coffee shop or grab a beer. And communicate over email and stuff, and just like get demos and bounce ideas, just so when they come into the studio, we're both prepared and kind of have a general idea of what kind of sound we want to achieve and how the process will work. And usually, that first day you kind of figure out a flow, what works, what doesn't, and make adjustments.
Have you had like moments when you're like, oh, I completely misunderstood what?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely been project where you're like, oh, that's not what I was thinking how this would go.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's
I guess sometimes it's not great.
Yeah. Every project's different.
And have you had to like on the spot, like just troubleshoot through that when you're like, oh, like this person just told me this, one word of what that like the artist was thinking about this song, and it's completely opposite of what I was thinking. And now she or he is about to like, and I'm like, okay, I need to like. Yeah,
or more. I think it would be more of the case of where the instrument was not kind of the vibe of the song, or they wanted like a specific instrument or sound, and maybe there's discussion about that. Not a discussion about that. Less so about like a lyric. You can work around that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what have been like the most common like discussions or like disagreements on like, no, like this is something that I think it like, I know I understand your vision, but I feel like this could be like better for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think every idea is always like worth trying. So if I have an idea or the artist has an idea, it's worth trying. It doesn't take a long time to try an idea, and ultimately the best idea wins most of the time. That's the artist. I don't know if there's like one thing I can
like
point to.
It always varies.
It always varies. I mean, like most of the time there's like
whenever it happens.
It's so like out of the ordinary or rare that like I can't really find a
Catch,
pattern or thread for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's this artist that I love. He's from Uruguay, and he talks about how he's used to like singing in a specific way, like to the mic, physically.
Yeah.
And then whenever he started to collaborate with, once he started to collaborate with a specific other artist, Spanish artist, I think, like the other guy who's younger was telling him like, you need to like get your really like your
like trumpet,
and just instead of like singing, just kind of like whatever adjustments you do to your voice, they don't have to be that big because you're like so close to the mic.
Yeah.
And you can do like, I don't want to try because I don't sing, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Be more expressive.
So he was like very thrown off like by that, but whenever I hear the song, I was like, it makes a lot of sense, and I feel like it's very, I can't describe it other way, but it's like it's delicious to sound to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just like really intimate and big,
and not delicious like in a sensual way, just like it's like
makes
it's
you
like
feel chills and
it's like it's super cool. And he mentions that is something that was it Chet Baker who did that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he was, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I thought also like of like Liam, who also like gets into the, like really close to the mic. But it's very different because he has like a raspy voice and like
Liam Gallagher.
Liam Gallagher,
yeah. And he sings up, doesn't he? Like
usually
when you see him on stage.
He has a mic here, but he's like he does this. I don't know.
Yeah.
So do you have like something, have you ever like asked or like told like an artist to like, hey, like I feel like you should do something like that, like physical towards the mic, to get like a specific sound for whichever song?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the one thing I know I always ask singers is like, how do they feel comfortable singing? Do they naturally sing straight on? Do they look down a little bit?
Okay.
Do they look up like Liam Gallagher? Just to know like mic placement, mic choice, and then all the compression and stuff. Like, what's a good starting point? So that's usually the first step. And then I find, honestly, a lot of times the singers will ask, like, how close do you want me to be to the mic? And usually my go-to is just like saying how you feel.
However you always.
However you're comfortable. And then if it's sounding a little bit off or we want to try something, let's just try like backing up or going forward. Or if, there's a big, loud belting part, maybe like lean back a little bit. Ultimately, for something like that, I'd rather have the singer feel comfortable, and I can figure out the other part afterwards. Unless it's a very specific thing where you're going for like a very intimate thing, or even putting the singer out in the live room. So at the studio, like I have a vocal booth, which is very dead and dry, and then the live room is very lively. And this one band that I was recording a couple of months ago, the singer, he wanted to sing out in the live room, just liked that feel of it. So great. That's what you do. It's more comfortable there. It's not going to make or break the song, but the performance is. So if they're comfortable in a certain way, then you go with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And have you had like emergencies, like you recorded something and then you're like, no, this just got like ruined and this was like hours of work.
Yeah,
and,
there's like distortions or clicks or like something's humming.
And you're like, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. Yeah, or not all the time. Like try to minimize it.
Yeah.
Definitely when you first start out, that happens more often. Or you're just like, oh, I wish I tracked this differently. I don't know if that was the best bass sound or guitar tone. There's always those like kind of creative, hindsight choices or problems that you run into. But yeah, I mean, sometimes if you're recording drums and you have like 12, 16 mics on a kit, and only after the song is done, you realize, oh, this one mic kept chopping out a bad cable or the preamp was faulty, stuff like that. Nothing that really has destroyed the song, or that there's like an artist has ever been like, why does this sound
like, what is this?
What was the sound? Nothing like that really. One thing that does happen once in a while is acoustic players, acoustic guitar. If it's like a really intimate song, you might hear a little bit of like rustling around, just like they'll be wearing like a watch or a sleeve
or like a ring, and you can hear the button or something.
So that's something I always make sure whenever I'm recording acoustic guitar, if it's like an intimate thing, like sleeves up, don't have any watches on.
Okay.
Put a pillow on the feet so you don't hear tapping, because once you start mixing a song and start adding more compression and that noise floor, the really quiet stuff is starting to raise. That's when you're like, oh no, there's a lot of movement, which could be nice. It's intimate,
sometimes it can be
could
like,
be distracting too. So
there's this one song from Don Mayer. I've never referenced. I love him, but I've never referenced him like during this during the podcast. Bug was like, it was about time.
It was coming.
It was coming. So he has a song where he just recorded in his like bedroom or whatever, which of course his bedroom was probably like a lot more, acoustically.
Oh, I'm sure he had like sound treatments.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, but he has a song where it's just him playing the guitar, and you can sort of hear like a little bit of the
sleeve or something
against, but it feels like, I don't know, it's kind of cool to listen to it, because you really believe that he is in his bedroom, just like
totally.
And that's my favorite version of that song. Versus the studio one. Have you ever tried to like do that with someone, like even though they're in the studio and you're like, we're gonna try and do something that sounds like very, very much, I don't want to say like
kind of fake it kind of thing?
Maybe, maybe like that feeling, because it's still like it's still nice to have those differences. Like I love the the studio version, but also kind of have like that improvised whatever.
I feel like stuff like that you have to catch, like that's that like good magical moment stuff. I don't know if there's, or I'm sure there has been, but it's hard to think of an example where like we intentionally try to add some of that stuff, but
or like someone who asks like, I want this to sound.
I mean, definitely there's times with like you want to make stuff sound old, so it's like find the like oldest shittiest guitar that you can and run it through whatever amp you find or a PA system or something like that, just to like really make the sound unique and kind of lo-fi or old. But I find all the like movement stuff or like vocal expressions or just like gestures that come out in the vocal booth, you kind of like hope to catch that kind of stuff, because that's always fun. Like I love like the Beatles and their records, their songs have like so much of that stuff like throughout it, and it's the best part. Like you wait for it. You wait for a little like slip or just a little laugh or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I feel like those kind of like albums, whenever you listen to them, it kind of, whether that feeling is like they're trying to transmit, them being like Don Mayer in his bedroom, whatever. But whether it be that or like you being in the studio with them. So it's like, I was totally there. Like I caught it. I got that, like...
Yeah, especially with, like, you have the headphones on, and it's like they're playing right in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. There's also, like, this one song from Incubus where there's, like, a laugh hidden between all the, like, from their Science album, and there's this laugh of Brandon, just, like, I don't know. He laughs between... I don't know. There's like so much noise, like so much happening. And then he laughs. And every time he would laugh, I would like turn it up and just be like, hey, can you listen to the laugh?
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it was kind of like cool to catch that.
And it's just like part of the vocal take that he's probably just like, they just left all that stuff.
I don't know. I feel like it's, they left it, but I actually don't know the story behind it. But it kind of seems like I think of it whenever I listen to that song that I'm like there and they're like just like playing around or something whenever they're like playing that part, and then he just like kind of laughs, and I'm like,
Yeah.
like, what, like, you try to figure, you try to figure out like what was going on, or like, so it's kind of cool to be like immediately transported, like when you read a book, like to that
Totally,
where you can like almost see the colors and like,
it's like, you know, like,
and you don't know them, like I don't know.
No, yeah,
you know?
It's like watching a comedy movie, and you know, it's just like it's so much improv, and you know, just like people are riffing off each other, and it's just like that feels like really natural and unexpected. But it sells it. It's great. You know what I really love on records is when the talkback mics are still on, and sometimes you hear like at the beginning of a song or the end of a song. Like I know Spoon has that on a few songs, and Tim Baker. He has this one song on his first record called Strange River, and they left the first like 10 seconds of the song where he starts the song on piano in the wrong key. And so the first like 10 seconds, it sounds like it was just recorded with like a room mic or something. It's not, you know, super recorded well, but like he starts in the wrong key, and then it goes into the, you know, the correct version. Yeah. And I always wonder like there's such like, those are intentional decisions that they would have to like splice in. So like, when do you choose those moments? When do you not? When does it seem kind of gimmicky? Or when does it seem natural? So,
or like, you know, Green Day, I forgot the song. I can't believe it. I forgot. Whenever
they have like talk back.
Well, so what's the song? He's like doon 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 doon, and then doon doon doon.
That sounds like every Green Day song.
And then like and then he goes like fuck. And then he starts playing.
Okay.
And they left it in the... And like every time I want to listen to that song, like it's been so long, I kind of want to, you know, sing that like fuck.
Yeah.
Like I'm, you know, like...
It's part of it. Yeah. It's part of the song. Yeah.
But it is kind of curious. Like, how do you decide that was like, we're going to leave this? Like, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. I don't know. And I wish, like, I don't typically record the talkback mics. Or sometimes I do it. But yeah, I feel like I should always, you know, just always be rolling kind of thing, like, or even have a Zoom recorder on, just like in the control room or the live room, just to capture whatever.
Yeah, like the vibe. Or
do
you? So there's no, like, none of the songs that you've produced have like that kind of little.
There's been like
that you've left that you're like.
Maybe a little bit. Like sometimes you'll find things in room mics. Like I know. Like this one record, Porto's last record, there was one song where it sounded like there was lots of like room noise with like heavy compression, and it kind of did this like cool pumping effect to like some instrument. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like we really liked what it was doing, so we like actually brought it out. It's like, oh, that's a really cool like rhythm that this like room tone is making. So
okay, nice.
Sometimes it's nice to like find that stuff. Like don't chop everything out, because there might be some like good stuff in those, you know, silences.
And have you tried to like design a sound that isn't necessary from an instrument, you know, something that you like like 9 Inch Nails, and they're doing like I think they have like one of the songs that has like kind of like white noise from a machine that I don't know, like a space machine. I don't remember. Yeah. And then they made this like sound, this specific sound for this one song.
Oh yeah.
What has been the craziest? Like
okay. So recently, Summer's brother, who I think's on the show next week, he was
tomorrow. Tomorrow they're gonna be here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so so his one single that's out, Misinformation, we recorded a bunch of chip bags. So we got like Miss Vicky's, nice. The Hawkins cheesies, and some like tackies. And we wanted to like add that to like the snare sound. So we recorded each one. He has a like
opening them, or just like kind of like rust
more. I think we did the open, we did the hit, and then the bite, the crunch.
Oh, nice.
And so we got like pretty much everything. And I know we posted the videos on Instagram, so you can see like which one we chose. So we took all those chip hits, or whatever you want to call them, and then laid them out on the keyboard like in a sampler, so he can, you know, C is the tackies, D is the Miss Vicky's, and we just like played around with that to add it to the snare drum to see which one sounded the best. And it made the recording. So I know there's some chip sounds in that song.
Nice.
So that was really fun. And then I told him, it was like, now every song we do, we have to like experiment with a different food that sneaks its way. Like next time, try a cookie crunch. And Kara, there's one song we're doing. She really wants to get like a beer can opening.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know it has to be a Pabst, she was saying. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. So we haven't recorded that yet. I think that would be a nice like thing to end the record with. Like that's the very last thing we
that
record.
would be cool. Yeah. It kind of those kind of things are like
done.
really cool.
Yeah. Because there's one moment in this one song that like it's kind of isolated where she just wants to have that little like beer can open. Yeah.
Which for me it's like I do like a C and then, but I've heard other people do like a. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. I think that's what I would do.
I do with a C. I don't know why.
Yeah.
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 I don't know.
So that's fine. I guess lots of food related stuff. That's typically where I go with that kind of thing.
Those are going to be like your kind of
signature.
Like your,
yeah. That's how I'm going to make a name for myself. Yeah. You're the food guy.
The food guy. Yeah. Have you ever tried with other like other
non-food things?
Yeah.
Like kitchen stuff like pots and pans and plates.
Okay.
I mean, like some of the best shaker sounds I find are just taking like medicine bottles and putting rice in there, lentils, anything that kind of shakes. I know that's not the most exciting thing, but like you can get great shaker sounds out of that. Or just like hitting different things, hitting tables. Sometimes you want to get more of a thump or like a smack kind of sound, and you don't necessarily want that to be like a drum kit sound. So you just kind of find some walls or surfaces and
just record
mic
that.
it. Yeah, see what happens. I know there was one time I used my ring kind of like tapping like that on a song. I don't think we ended up using it, but we really wanted like a metallic kind of sound. So I was, just doing that.
Do you have like some of those sounds just like saved like in a folder where you're like, I could use? Or it's just like for that one.
Just for that one moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I should like honestly the chip bag stuff because I had to create like short little samples of them. So just 1 second. So I could pull those into other songs, but it's also nice to just like keep it for the thing it was intended for. Yeah. Not overdo it. Yeah.
And with regards to like genres, which kind of genre would you consider to be like more challenging? Like trying to, more challenging in general.
I mean, for me, like I tend to like stick to what I like and know. So kind of rock, alternative, indie, folk kind of stuff. I mean, I'd be very challenged if someone asked me to make a beat or produce like a country pop record or something. I wouldn't even know where to start. So I don't know if it's more like, how do you make that song different or special or like, I don't, I mean, it's all like rock music. It all has guitars, bass, and drums for the most part.
Yeah.
So I find it kind of hard to sometimes like distinguish those genres. Like all the, like shoegaze and
honestly,
lo-fi,
everyone.
like it's all rock music. Like I don't care necessarily.
Yeah.
But how do you make it sound a little bit different? Like what's the X factor? What's the hook? Like what haven't you heard before? What's like a unique spin on it? That's always the challenge. How do you not play it safe? Even if it's just like trying different guitar sounds, like really like honing in on like a unique tone, or just play around with the drum tuning, put different things in the drum kit, try weird vocal effects, just kind of experiment.
Do you brainstorm like those ideas before you're working with the artist, or is it like? Well, I guess you mentioned there's also a back and forth, of course. So there's also, I guess, a brainstorming with them.
Yeah.
But do you have like your own like personal like brainstorming, like what you are envisioning for that project?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times you find it in the studio, but but kind of like what I was saying, I love listening to references, and before you go to the studio, like kind of listen to music that might inspire you to be productive and add value to the song or the day.
What's your go-to productive band?
I think War on Drugs lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that's the band I always go to. I just love how those them and like the National. I love like both those bands. I love how those record sounds. I love how they were mixed. It just feels like they like both those bands for the most part like put so much care and attention into like every part of the recording. And I love that, where it's just there's like so much going on, but it sounds so full and wide. Like there's a lot of stuff happening, but they seem to really structure it well, where they can have like 70 different instruments or something in the track, but like you can actually hear them all. It doesn't sound like a muddy mess. So they're kind of my go-to, especially the War on Drugs. Like Sean Everett, he's their mixing engineer. I know he produced their last record. I just absolutely love the way his brain thinks, and mine doesn't. My brain doesn't work the same way as him. But I'm always trying to like just try to tap into like maybe like what he would do, because I love what he. I just absolutely admire his work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would that be like? Would he be the person that you? Like your goal to work with?
I think so. I would love to. Yeah. I mean, I would love to produce a record and give him a track to mix. That would be so much fun to just hear what he hears in it and like what he would do to it. That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone else like that you've thought like, oh, like it would be amazing to work with?
Yeah. I mean, there's like, every time you listen to a record by like Radiohead or someone like Nigel Godrich, that'd be really cool. I was actually just talking about him the other day because I love Nigel Godrich. I wish he worked with a lot more bands that I like and listen to. So I maybe not necessarily like him working on something I'm working on, but I want to see him like work with like the National, just
to
put
see
them in a room.
how it would
just like lock them away in a studio for a couple months and see what happens.
It's just like as an experiment, and you're just like, I just wanted to see how it would work better.
Yeah, it's like if I was a billionaire and I could just like, that's my like.
You two are gonna be. This is your play date for the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Make music.
That's like what I'm gonna fund. That's like my venture capital fund. Just like pairing to
GoFundMe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would.
Yeah, make it happy, people.
Exactly. Yeah.
It would be funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it might kind of work that way in the real world, I guess.
It does, yeah.
Yeah,
but I just want to like be in control of the pairings to make to hear the records I want to listen to. Yeah.
Would you maybe think of like to redo a record that you already love?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever thought about that. Like, it's almost like you don't want to touch it. Yeah, because sometimes it's not always like the recording itself, but like maybe you heard that record when you were 16 and you absolutely love it, and there's nothing you could do that can never change that like nostalgic.
Yeah, it's all the
factor.
memories they're attached to.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely hear records. Like sometimes you're like, oh, I don't know if I would have like done that or mixed that song that way. I might have wanted to hear something different, or maybe that was an experiment, and for me it didn't quite land. There's always little things like that, but I find the records I love, I just love and don't want to touch
because they're like
yeah. Do you ever have that, like if you listen to a song you're like, oh, I don't love this one part? Or
I feel like the only times it happens would be whenever I hear like the live version and I prefer the live version, and I'm like, oh, why didn't that artist do the live version in the like during the studio time, or vice versa, and I'm like,
but I mean, songs progress. It's like, the studio, it's not like the song is done. It's just like you did what you could in the time you had with with the equipment and the people you had available, and then the song can evolve beyond that.
Which is kind of also like cool, because I mean at the end of the day music isn't, it's not like static. It's not dead. So
Yeah.
it makes sense for it to not be the same whenever it's played live.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other way around, you know, it's not going to like, it's going to sound the way it sounded when it was played because that's what made sense. That's
was
the
happening.
mood.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what was happening. That was, you know,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if like that song I told you about Incubus, like if he would have laughed live, I would have been like, whatever. He laughed, you know, like whatever.
Exactly.
But because it's in, you know, in the album, it's like, it has a different, I don't know. It's like, it's specific. So,
and it's like that exact like laugh. I don't know like how he's laughing in the song, but I'm sure it's
a terrible laugh. He goes
okay.
like it's just like a weird.
So it'd be weird
awkward
if he did
laugh
that live, unless it was like a fan interaction thing where it's like a moment where the whole crowd does it or something.
Yeah, maybe, but still,
like
it would be like, oh, he laughs weird.
Yeah,
you know, but it's kind of like, I don't
especially
know.
like 20 years later, he's not gonna have the same laugh. It's like, you want that like the way he laughed, like in that moment, how it was like recorded. And that's what you've heard hundreds of times.
Yeah. And there's other stuff that I'm like, I kind of wish I would hear it live the way it was like on the studio. So like sometimes there's a few songs when you can like hear their breathing.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, that's like, it kind of keeps you like on the edge of your seat. And it's like so like beautiful and like, or endearing or like, you know, touching or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you can't really hear that live.
No, it's just going to get lost.
So it's like, it is a different feeling because you're hearing it live or whatever, but you can't have that thing that was keeping you on the edge of the seat, making you a fan of that song before.
Totally.
You know?
It's a totally different experience, like seeing someone play live versus in the studio. Yeah, that's always, I do love like breaths in songs.
Yeah. Maybe not too much.
Maybe not too much. I mean, sometimes you gotta dial it back a little bit. But yeah, especially when you're mixing like a beautiful song or something like that, that breath adds to it, and then it sounds weird if it's like choppy and then
like not there. It's like it sounds like robotic or
it feels like it was like, oh, maybe this was like 100 vocal takes because like every little phrase is
too perfect.
Yeah, and it's like its own little thing. So I mean, sometimes I'll do that, like keep the breaths in for the verses and then maybe the chorus or something just to keep it a little bit more bigger. Cut out the breaths. It depends on the song. I usually make that decision like as I'm mixing. I'll like leave everything in, and then while I'm mixing, if it's starting to bother me or it's just sounding too weird having it in there, I'll take it out. But try to leave as much of that good stuff in there as possible. Yeah.
And have you ever had like, you know, asked for somebody to do something because you're like, you know, thinking it's gonna sound, you're like, oh, this person would be perfect to do this, and then you ask them to do it and then they do it and you're like, that sounds terrible, but I'm just gonna fake.
Oh,
I'm not gonna tell you who or any, like I'm not gonna ask you to tell me like who, but like have you ever had that moment when you're like, yeah, that was great, and you're like, okay, next
maybe part I mean, some it's
like it doesn't have to be singing, like whatever, like
maybe sometimes try
like,
it and then you know, you have it, it's like, you know, you have record it digitally, so you're
like, I'll save it for later.
You save it, try it, like take like see how they react, because I mean, they might, like someone might record something and think it sounds really cool, like to them, like as they're doing it, but then after listening back a few more times, they're like, maybe that wasn't the thing. But I don't know.
Or the other way around, like something that grows on you, and you're like, I didn't like it the first time, but now it's like, wow, that's kind of
all the time. Yeah. But then you're worried, like, am I just getting complacent? Like, is it something I've listened to 100 times, so that's why I kind of like it, or like then that's always.
How do you troubleshoot through that then? You
just have to go with your gut and get some, like, you know, show your partner, see what the band, see how people are feeling, because you don't want to, like move quick enough that you don't become like complacent with it, because then it's like I don't know what sounds good or bad anymore. Like I've been listening to this song for months and months, and you know, you just kind of lose perspective. So I think it's good to like move quick, because then you can go with your gut, and if you like working that way, then you can make, you know, maybe not always the right decision, but at least it was the cool one in the moment.
Yeah. And have you ever gone through like creative blocks?
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, and how does that, like, how is that different? How do you consider it being like a different kind of like creators or creative block versus someone who like versus musicians?
Like a writer.
Like
or something.
a writer, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed for me, if I haven't mixed something in a while, though that like first day of or first pass of a mix, I kind of end up redoing or not finishing completely. Because I find like the mixing, it just has to flow and kind of be muscle memory and just like, oh yeah, that's my go-to for this kind of thing. So if I wait like a couple weeks or I go on vacation or just I'm mainly producing or engineering and not mixing, which isn't really a creative block necessarily, but that's something I always struggle to get back to. I have to I have to mix like every so often to keep that like muscle going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I don't know about like creative blocks, just because the artists are always like so creative and inspired, and you feed off.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's times when you're really tired and
it's just like I just need to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I guess that makes sense as well. Like, you know, you can pick on when you're surrounded by a bunch of artists, you know, that's how I'm picking on all of your guys' brains.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, you guys are just like amazing.
Yeah.
So it's
not me, some other people. Though.
No, you too. I mean, the fact that you were able to work with so many artists and just like understand what they want to sound like and then be able to like actually put it out there. I mean, it's like fun. I can't do that. So you still need like creativity, a bunch of creativity, and then a lot of knowledge, of course, like technical knowledge, but you still need to like know how to read creativeness.
Exactly.
You know? So
Let people live out or live to their full potential. In the studio.
Yeah. You're like that, you know, that I guess you're that canvas for the artist, you know, like they come in, they do whatever they do. And then you're like, okay, so it's this.
Yeah.
And you're like, ta-da.
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, it's perfect.
Yeah. You're somewhere between like a technician and a therapist.
Yeah.
Whatever a music producer is like right in the Venn diagram, the center there. Yeah.
And have you had people like break down, have like complete breakdowns, and you're like, whoa, that was like super intense, and I'm gonna leave it, but like also we should stop recording so we can like give you some tea and
totally, especially if you're recording your friends or people you've worked with a long time and you're both comfortable with each other. There's definitely those like emotional or vulnerable moments, and external factors like can't always control like what happens in their home life or stuff that happens outside the studio that that just happens to be the day we had booked in the studio. So I mean those days are tough, but like they happen, and you do what you can to get through it.
Yeah. Do you consider you've gotten like you've like started to grow like an ability, like a skill to not for therapy, but I'm
gonna leave music production and just go into psychology. Maybe I don't know if like growing into it. I think I've always been a little bit like easy to talk to, or people friends can come to me for advice or help. I think I got some of that from my parents, who were great at that as well. And I mean that really helps for
they
producing.
Therapists?
No, they're not. But but they're just like good people to talk to and bounce ideas, and they're always willing to drop what they're doing to help you and talk you through something. No, my dad's a high school teacher, and my mom works in like business and leadership developing stuff. So but it's really nice like when you can become friends. Like most of my friends are clients. Like people started recording, and now they're just my best friends.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so how did you like like you mentioned, you listen to a bunch of like these records, and but like, is there like a music background in your like a musical background in your family? You mentioned right now your dad is a school teacher and your mom is into like business, but like, do you have like other relatives that are like, oh, like I have this guitar player?
And
My uncle.
not so much. I know my dad played guitar and mandolin. I think as like a kid, I could be wrong, but I think he played on mandolin as like part of a youth group when he was like a kid in Montreal.
Yeah.
It was on CBC. Yeah, no. My older brother definitely plays music, lots of guitar, a lot of. When I really got into listening to music and discovering new bands, my brother was he's 3 or 4 years older than me. So especially in high school, when he was in college, he's working in college for radio and working at the radio station there. So like got lots of cool records, and that I think that's when that really started to like, get the juices going and discovering all these new bands, sometimes like local bands and, small groups, or like the top like indie college radio bands from the States. Like at the time, like Decemberist or My Morning Jacket, like any bands like that.
Yeah.
Josh Ritter. So yeah, I'd say probably like a lot of that music inspiration or influence comes from like
your brother,
those days. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can cut that part out of the
Okay.
podcast. don't need him to hear it. Yeah.
Siblings will be siblings.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. I have my like, I don't know, like musical taste coming from my oldest sister. She got me into like, not all of it, of course, because I love a lot of bands that she like despised.
Oh, okay.
Or not despised, but she's just like, it's just like
kids
so,
music or
or like whatever, like too emo, or I don't know, or she would be like, how do you even listen to that, or whatever. So she would tease me about it. But there's a lot of music that I was like, oh, I don't want to recognize that it was because of you, but like it was because of you.
Exactly. It's like that age gap or that difference between like tastes can be like decades. It
like,
feels
no,
like.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then you go to your room and you're like pushing
like,
play.
okay, it's pretty good.
It's actually nice.
Yeah.
It's actually, I want to, play it again.
Yeah, exactly. How much older is she?
She's 5 years older.
5 years. Okay, so about the same age. So it's like that high school length.
Yeah.
Which is massive when you're young.
Yeah, it is, because you're like a full adult, and like they're not, but you see them that way.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
just like getting boogers off your face or whatever.
Totally. Yeah. Whatever you do as a kid.
Whatever you do as a kid. I keep like remembering stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like, how did you decide that, like, okay, now I just want to, like, I just want to produce music. I really want to make this, my profession.
Yeah. I think it was kind of like towards the end of high school when you're, wondering about post-secondary education. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? So I remember just talking to my parents about it, and they helped me find the school and the program that I went to, which was only like an hour away. It was in London, Ontario. So that's kind of where I started. Like I didn't know necessarily, oh, this is it forever. Because I did have other interests, like all within like media, marketing, graphic design, all that kind of stuff. But it's when you're like 17 or 18 years old, it's hard to know like, oh, this is
for life.
100%. Yeah, you're like, I'm really interested in it. I'd like to do it, but you don't know anything about how difficult it is or the industry.
Yeah.
So you just go for it and then just build up, and slowly you're like, oh, I do like this, and okay, I'm kind of getting the hang of some things, and you just like go from there.
Where do you draw your inspiration for like your own, mixing? And you mentioned you like you have your go-to bands or like to but like where else do you draw inspiration from?
Oh, like movies, TV, Those are the big things. Just other like media.
Okay.
I know sometimes it's also just like where the artist's inspiration comes from. I know when I mix artists who I haven't recorded and might not know them, like, maybe you just connected online. So we really don't know the person well.
Yeah.
I always like asking, what colors do you see when you listen to the song? If the song was played in like what movie or TV show would you picture the song being played in? So you can kind of get like a little bit of
like a mood and
mood,
like
a color palette, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and that helps me like not necessarily bring my own influences into the song, but like picture exactly like what they're hearing or what they're feeling, because they might they'll have a mood and they'll know how they wrote the song, what they were feeling when they wrote the song, and where they want it to go. And on my end, I'll be like, oh, I want to try these compressors on the vocal and stuff. So it's kind of like bringing that tech back to reality and what they were picturing for the song and how I can best use the tools I have at hand to help them.
How do you, or like which color do you consider is like the most
lots
played
of
in
like
your
red and purple?
Oh, really?
Yeah. It feels like those are the
common ones.
The common ones, yeah.
Do you get like, like a red, but not a bright red? Like a...
Yeah, some people are really specific.
Yeah,
okay. It could be like this specific Pantone. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, okay. That's like very, very specific.
What do you do once you get like... Once they tell you, you're like, okay, do you like literally look up the color and then try to like set the mood for the studio maybe?
I've tried that a little bit. Like at the studio, we have like the Philips Hue lights where you can change the color.
Yeah.
So that's always fun.
Okay,
for this song, want to try like a blue or a purple.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Dook.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay, this feels cool. Sometimes for recording too, if you're doing bed tracks and you might have a guitar player, a bassist, and a drummer, and they're in the live room playing all day, change the color of the light. Like what color are you feeling for this song? They're like, it's angry. Let's just have it like bright red. So it just feels like hell. So that's always fun too. It changes the vibe and lets you help get into the mood of the song. Sometimes before I mix, because that's kind of the time where I can be on my own and be creative and not have to necessarily like get into conversations with artists like beforehand. I can just kind of like go through my own process, kind of stretch before listen to a podcast, watch like maybe like a tutorial video on mixing, like a mix with masters thing. Just get inspired by watching like one of your idols mix a song for a few minutes. You're like, okay, I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're just like
stretching.
Okay.
Yeah. Just feeling good. And then just do something to help you get inspired, or listen to music. If you have a few reference tracks, you're like, oh, I really want to hear how this drum track feels, because I think that's kind of the vibe I want to bring into this mix.
Do you have like your own color, like for you?
It depends on the song.
Okay.
Yeah, it really depends on the song. Not one I would go to. I really like blue and purple a lot. I find that's like just always a nice color to have on, like in the room. And actually, now that I think about like when I like color code my tracks in Pro Tools, a lot of blue and a lot of purple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you had like people tell you a color and you're like, I was not expecting that color?
No, not really. It's usually
you're like, oh, that kind of sounds.
That sounds right. Yeah.
That does sound pink, or that does sound red.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just like, is there like a painting or something you want me to look at, or just a piece of art, just something to help maybe set the mood a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And like now that you've been doing this, you've almost you're almost 1 year into the studio, into this new
into the new space.
Studios, into the new space.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel now that you have like this really cool studio?
Oh, great. Yeah. So Dan Ponich, my studio partner, and I, we had also called Park Sound. That's like the name of our studio. We had a previous place for 5 years, and then moved to this new place, which is just a serious upgrade from our old spot. So it feels great. Like it's like home now. It's comfortable. Like we kind of spent a lot of time setting up everything we needed to get set up. Had to wait for like equipment, furniture to come in. So for the first 6 months, we were kind of at a little bit of a hybrid setup, still like a work in progress. And then since the summer, it's been just gorgeous. And we had our opening party a couple weeks ago at the studio, where we can bring in like lots of artists and other engineers from the other studios around town. So that was cool to actually bring the community together a little bit and show off the space.
Yeah. Do you still like miss a little bit of the old space? You're like, I still missed a little, like, you know, that.
I don't know. I love the new studio so much.
You're like, whatever.
I just remember like, when we left, we were just like, we just got to get the fuck out of here. like, because we're going into like this like dream space, and the previous studio, like we built ourselves, and it was just like, we really like maxed what we could do in there. And we were just so excited about this new space.
Nice.
That we couldn't wait to leave.
To actually be there and just work there. And
I don't look back on it necessarily about like, it feels more like it's like, you know, a temporary like house or apartment that you lived in before you like, you know, moved in with your partner or something.
Yeah.
Whereas like, it was great, but like it wasn't, I don't
want to go back.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going back there. That'd suck. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you planning on like new stuff, bringing in new stuff for the studio, for the new studio? Like
gear and things?
Yeah, like gear and like everything, like gear projects.
Projects are always coming in. And over the next couple months, like some new clients, returning clients, kind of finishing up projects that I'm already working on. I think gear, I got to slow down a little bit. Okay. I'll hold off on that a little bit. But I mean, you know, you're always scouring like Craigslist and Marketplace and be like, it's too good of a deal to pass up. Yeah, even if it's like, this guitar pedal is like not that expensive. Maybe I'll just get it. But I feel like we're pretty set up, like at the space. Like we can. I feel like I personally can. I have so many tools like.
You can do more than enough right
available,
now.
And lots of different colors to play around with, and try different mics. Like it's nice to like go back to stuff. Like every few months, you might like really be obsessed with this one guitar amp or guitar pedal or mic, and then you're like, I want to try something different, and then you like fall in love with something you already have. You're like, I don't know why I wasn't using this all the time. So it's nice to do that and like circle back to things. And like once you get to really know something, then you can move on from it and try something again. You know, with like hopefully more wisdom and knowledge. Like 3 months later, like I think I'm a better engineer than I was 3 months ago. Or I know how to use this tool.
Have you ever had like I don't know if this makes sense, but I used to play a lot of sports when I was younger. So my first dreams whenever I would fall right away sleeping would be, you know, like I don't know if I would be playing like football during that time. I would always dream, like my first dreams would be as I was falling asleep, like me running in the field and then just like kind of like getting like a ball in my face and then just like kind of like, you know, like
that
startle
woke you up.
And then I'd be like, like I was asleep already. And then if I was playing basketball during that time, then I would dream like someone giving me a pass, and you know. Do you have those kind of dreams when you're a producer?
I've always
like not nightmares, but you know, like those like, kind of like
anxiety, or you're just like, this is a weird
fear, when you're like, I don't know, like, maybe it
might mean something.
Which they don't really mean anything, I guess. I guess it's just like, I'm worried about this game, like for me. So
like a big moment or something.
Do you have those kind of dreams?
I did have a dream like a few weeks ago. I was telling my assistant Hudson, I can't remember what song I was mixing, but I had these there's this one electronics company called Tube Tech, and we have a couple of their EQs. They're kind of big and blue. And I had a dream about these like white Tube Techs that they were, I think it's because we just got them repaired. So it was probably just like on on my mind.
Yeah.
But I told him like I had this dream about these white tube ducks, and I was like, I want to try them on this like mix today, and like fell in love with them. Yeah. So I mean, that was nice. What I think like the anxiety dreams, it's kind of like anything. Like you're not entirely sure what it means. Maybe you mess something up on a project, or like the studio floods or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm not one of those people like who wakes up and immediately remembers their dreams. Like I know my wife Brittany, like she remembers her dreams like immediately, and for me, it's not all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. Yeah. I think I remember a lot of my dreams. But
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. Paco doesn't remember much of his dreams. He's always like, I don't remember my dreams.
I
kind of do, not all of the time, but a lot of the times.
Yeah. I definitely have like dreams, like anxiety things where I'm back in school, even though I didn't like have a, traumatic time in school, but just being like late for a test or something. Those are kind of like the weird anxiety dreams. And I don't know why, but like I'm back in like,
weird,
like secondary school or something. Yeah.
So now what is like your daydream for your studio?
Oh, like, interesting. Yeah. I mean, just to keep doing, like working on the projects I love to work on, keep getting better. You hope the projects become more successful. You become better. You become the work you do is closer to the records you like love that you consider like just all time great albums. So it's just that. It's just like a natural progression. Just keep getting better, working on better projects, playing around with cooler gear, experimenting with stuff, finding those like signature sounds and moments, and just keep going. That's nice. That's the dream.
What do you want now for people to recognize as your signature like
sound? The chips. Definitely the chips.
Okay.
Definitely the chips.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I think like honestly maybe drums. That's something I know a lot of people have commented or chatted with me about, like just drum recording and drum mixing. I find I can like really shape the sound of drums to suit the song, whether that's like recording or mixing.
Nice.
So yeah, I would hope maybe that's the thing, because I love drums, love percussion, love bass, love groove. So maybe just great rhythm.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, cool. Do you want to leave your name tags? Not name tags, your social media tags.
Sure. Yeah. On Instagram, I'm Andy Schick on Instagram, and then I have at Parksound BC, which is the studio, and then Facebook as well at Parksound BC. No TikTok, and then the website's andyschichter.com and parksoundstudio.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna finish off with a nice cheers.
Okay. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah. It was really nice having you.
Yeah. Thanks so much.